imposters have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They're hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to say, talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit. There's a big appeal. It's hit him on the pad. He's out. Lions gone. New South Wales are 9 down. Onto Sydney Road, and it hit a car. Oh, I think it's hit a car. What a way to bring up your 50.
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
Oh, hello everybody, and welcome back to Cricket Unfiltered. I'm, of course, Manners, and it is Ashes week. We are just a few days away from the series beginning, and I can't wait. I'll be heading over to Perth for the first test to cover the game from Optus Stadium. Now, in a moment, I'm going to be joined by Ashley Giles. That's right. I've allowed an English cricketer onto the podcast, but what a great guest to have on. Giles was, of course, part of the 2005 Ashes winning team for England. He played a key role in their victories in the 4th and 5th tests. So we'll get into that. We'll also talk about his career in depth. He's had a very interesting career. He's been director of cricket at the ECB, and now he's the CEO of Worcestershire County Cricket Club. But before we get to Ashley Giles, I just want to thank NordVPN, who are sponsoring the podcast for Ashes Week. And it is the perfect time to sign up for NordVPN, because if you're a cricket fan and you're going to be traveling over summer, a VPN will help you keep up with all the action. You can use your subscriptions at home by changing your location so you can still watch the cricket if you're traveling overseas. If you're in a different location and you want to watch the cricket, you'll be able to do that. Also, it's safety. If you're traveling and you're using mobile Wi-Fi or you're on public Wi-Fi, a VPN will encrypt your data. It will scramble your information. It will change your IP location so you have no worries. It has never been more important than right now to secure your data with the amount of cybercrime going on. So NordVPN is the option. I use them myself. I've used them since they sponsored the podcast, and it's been so useful as a cricket fan to be able to keep up with the action when I'm moving around the country and around the world. Now, if you go to the link in the episode notes, you can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/cricket unfiltered. You get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, and you get 4 additional months on top. Plus, it's a completely risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. So NordVPN, 4 months for free, 30-day money-back guarantee, and a huge discount if you go to the link in the episode notes, nordvpn.com/cricket unfiltered. And remember, it's the best way to keep up with all the action if you're traveling over summer. All right. Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring the show. And now to Ashley Giles, former England cricketer who was part of that 2005 Ashes winning team. Well, what a way to get into Ashes week on the Cricket Unfiltered podcast with an England cricket legend who had so much to do with the 2005 Ashes victory. I'm thrilled to be joined by former England cricketer. He played 54 tests and he's written a fantastic book, The King of Spain and I, Ashley Giles. Ashley, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on.
Thanks, Meadows. Good to be with you.
Well, perfect week to come on because Ashes fever has swamped Australia. Everyone's thinking about this gargantuan series about to begin. How's the optimism in England at the moment ahead of the series?
Pretty positive, I think. Actually, I think this is probably our best chance of winning the Ashes in Australia for some time. There's a number of moving parts to that, but I think particularly the recent injuries or the injuries that the Australians have suffered, we know how important that bowling attack is to Australia and has been over a long period. And actually, we seem to be getting to start line with just about everyone fit and available, and particularly important, our fast bowlers. So having Archer and Wood up and firing, I think is important. And the way we've played our cricket over the last couple of years. So, I can't quite make my mind up, Menners, whether Australia have got one last hurrah in them or whether they've actually just tipped over the top of that trajectory and on their way down. But we're soon to find out.
Yeah, I was saying before that I think, when you came out in 06, 07, it was a similar age profile for the Australian team. And it was the series after that when England came back and Australia hadn't been able to rebuild. So I wonder if it'll be a similar situation. I guess we'll find out by January. Very exciting. Um, I was just before you jumped on, I was reading the local newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, one of the fine tabloids here, and it had like 10 sliding door moments with catches in Ashes history. And the first one was a good memory for you, Shane Warne dropping KP at the Oval in 2005. So giddy up. I was like, giddy up. I'll bring this up to Ashley when he comes on. Second one, though, I'm afraid it was you dropping punter at Adelaide Oval in 06, 07. So even you're not touring here, the Aussies are still sledging you.
It's fine. I'm quite happy I'm not. It's amazing the amount of people I've seen recently, actually, and said, "Are you going to Australia to watch the Ashes?" I've gone, "No, thank you. I don't have a lot of happy memories of Ashes series in Australia. And if I'm going to get a couple of weeks off, the last place I'm going to go is to get absolutely badgered in Australia. So I think I'd go as far away as I possibly could. I will watch it from a distance. And of course, you know, I want a certain result and you guys want a different result. But look, they're tough series. I remember that catch pretty well. I think Ricky had about 40 and went on to get 140, I think. And I pretty much paid for every single run from the crowd after I dropped that ball. But I think there was every likelihood we were going to lose that series anyway. The Aussies were all over us that time. It was a completely different series from the one in 05, and we were a completely different team, really, as well. So disappointing, but that's the game.
Yeah, I think the anticipation for this series is similar to 06, 07 after the 05 rematch. So great to have you on the podcast because, you've released a fantastic book, The King of Spain and I. You can get it at fairfieldbooks.co.uk. And, I was fascinated because, I've viewed your career from a distance being an Aussie, just, how engaged you are and how much you love the game from not just you playing, but then you post-playing, coaching, director of cricket, now CEO of Worcestershire Cricket Club. I mean, where does this love of the game come from? Where did it start?
But it starts from my very early days, which I was brought up on the village green, just around cricket, surrounded by cricket. My whole summers just seemed to be immersed in cricket, and still they're often, I think, my fondest memories of the game because they're just pure, just village cricket, the teas, the banter, the long nights after the game, and no stress, no hassle, no problem. I reflect very fondly of my time in Ripley in Surrey, growing up as a kid. But Andrew, as you say, I've enjoyed what is it now? 33 years in professional cricket, both as a player, coach, administrator. And I think what I say most now is I just feel very privileged to have been involved in the game that long. Some would say lucky, but I'd say I say privileged because it's a special game. And whatever I said about the Ashes and coming to watch the Ashes, it's I'm very lucky to be in it, as I say. And actually, the book I think has helped me reflect more positively. More recently, I think I found it cathartic in two ways. It was cathartic from writing it, and I actually did write it. I know a lot of autobiographies are ghostwritten. Mine, I actually did write every word. But also cathartic from releasing it. So it's, this is it. This is me. There you go. Like it or lump it. If you don't like it, fine. But this is the reality, and it's actually only that part, the playing part of my career. So, the coming through, of course, the ranks of being a schoolboy on that journey, but then really ends with me retiring after my hip injury in 2007. But perhaps there's a second volume to come at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so much in this book. I found the stuff around your, battles as a professional cricketer. I mean, you touch on mental health and depression, but also the insecurities and how professional cricket, and I've actually heard and seen this before with other cricketers, how the professional game kind of swallows you up and you can lose perspective. And all of us, and it seemed to me that you went through a time where you really struggled to have the perspective you have now about what a brilliant career you had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all go through it. I think we underestimate how many people in the game, players particularly, will go through those same feelings. It's a high pressured environment, and for many of us, it's all you've ever wanted to do is play at the very highest level, pull on the colours of your country. And then sometimes when you get there, it's not what you thought it was, because all the other stuff that comes with it, all the incoming pressure and the criticism and the grind, can get the better of you, and it certainly did for me at times. And that's certainly not poor me. I don't think any of us would say that. It's not about feel sorry for me, but I think it's just making people aware of those pressures. And certainly for me, there was a sort of imposter syndrome at times where, do I really belong here? And it's a shame again, because you work so hard to get to that point. And I was very lucky because I had a long career, and as you say, man, as I can reflect now and go, I am proud of what I did. Some guys go straight in and straight out, and are left sort of just cold by the experience, and that's difficult to take and difficult to see. But as I write in the book, there's a time for all of us, and the analogy I use, one day you're in the middle of the circus ring, and everyone is applauding and adores you, and you're doing what you love. The next day you wake up and you're in the middle of the field and the circus has left town, and no one looks back. No one looks back, and you've sort of got to be comfortable with that in professional sport, because it just keeps moving forward, and you need support. And I've been very lucky with that, particularly family, but you've got to be incredibly resilient as well, and be able to dust yourself down and go again.
Well, you certainly have a lot of resiliency. You can read about it I mean, there's so many, ups and downs in your career, and minor setbacks, injuries, and at the wrong time. And, it's interesting you say about, oh, you don't want to, sort of woe is me about the mental health. But I think it's so important in 2025 with the prevalence of and the epidemic of, mental health struggles for men. At the moment, I think it is, it's important because, you in the book, and I would urge people to read it. You really sort of talk about how you went from being in that tough place to coming through that, and that's a struggle that everyone can identify with, because whatever walk of life they're in. So I think it's really important that people like yourself write about it. And I had Brad Hodge on the podcast, and it's interesting. He sort of felt his career was a failure because he never played for Australia that much. But I'm like, geez, mate, from my perspective, you had a pretty bloody good career. And I look at your career, and at the end of it, you'd achieved so much. And in 2005, regaining the Ashes, playing a pivotal role, breaking my heart when you batted with KP for so long. Um, that you have those highs, but it's very hard when you're feeling depressed to take them in.
Yeah, you do. You lose all perspective. And again, easy for me to reflect now. And when I talk to young players now, I try and talk to them and get them to connect with where they've come from. So as I talked about with me, that journey from the young boy on the village green, he was telling his granddad that he wants to play for England one day. And then that journey you all go on as a family, your friends, the support, the coaches who support you. And then I can reflect and go, well, where I got to, and that final day, particularly as you say at the Oval in 2005, you go, wow, yeah, I'm pretty lucky actually, and I can reflect much more now, as I said, and say, yeah, look, I'm comfortable with my career and what I've achieved. Um, and I continue to strive for more and for better. I've had my ups and downs in coaching and administration as well, but I'm as proud of my ability to get up and dust myself down off the field as I am on the field, and that resilience, that ability to just go, no, look, I'll show you, whatever the critics say, I'm going to keep coming. And I think that's actually what, on the field, that's sort of what the Aussies really applaud and admire is someone who just keeps getting up and going, I'm coming for you.
Oh,
And
absolutely. We love a fighter.
yeah, that's how I've sort of tried to live my career. Really, is I might not be very good all the time, but I'm going to keep coming and I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to be as good as I can be.
You talk about imposter syndrome, and you would know this with your involvement in cricket so extensively that I think actually teams now are better at helping players get over that, making them feel more welcome, more of a squad mentality, less sort of looking over your shoulder all the time. In the last 20, 30 years, I think that's changed a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it has. I mean, I talk about in my book the early dressing rooms I went into, and that was a different game. That was you were very much the bottom of the food chain, and you knew about that almost hourly, if not minute to minute, um, from the senior players. But that was just the system. Then it was a school of hard knocks, and you learned from those experiences, and you stayed in your place. You only spoke when you were spoken to, those sort of things, and I suppose quite early on when I started playing first team cricket, that started to change, and it's gradually changed more and more over time till we're, as you say, right in that place now where everyone absolutely understands that. Well, firstly, those behaviours aren't acceptable, but B, you need people to come into those environments and feel comfortable and feel an equal and feel accepted, so they can perform at their best. You don't perform at your best if you're taking on the best opposition in the world, for example, but you've got opposition in your own dressing room as well. And that's what it felt like at times as a youngster. And for me, I got through it. But there are aspects, even like I would say, it wasn't so much a drinking culture. It was just everyone drank, that sort of thing. And if you didn't, or if you didn't, sort of, I mean, I didn't drink before I went into professional cricket, and you had to change your behaviours just to fit in. But if you didn't do that, then I could see why you'd have felt on the outside, for example. And there's other examples apart from drinking.
I think now it's playing golf. I think they're too busy to
Yeah,
drink too much. So if you don't play golf, you're probably left out.
I think certainly the England team. Yeah, yeah. If you don't play golf or you don't caddy, then I think you might be in trouble.
I think even the Aussie team, Smith for years didn't play golf. I only think he took it up a few years ago. So
Yeah, I mean it's well, I love golf, so uh, I'd be all in for that. And these guys play so much cricket now.
yeah.
Spend so much time in hotels and away from home. Then I absolutely get that balance. And we've both been talking about mental health, so we need guys to be able to find a place where they could escape and just free up their minds.
Like we've gone really deep early on, and I want to get to some lighter stuff. But just tell me how did you sort of, what was the thing that really started to pull yourself out of that and get you look above water when you were feeling at your lowest? Was it therapy? Was it personal relationships? What was it?
Yeah. So look, there's been two key periods for me. So there was one in 2004 as a player where I was just sort of just buried, and that was Steve Bull. So Steve Bull was our sports psych, and I'd always admired Bully's work and sports psychology, but probably hadn't, again, properly invested in it. And it was a chance meeting, and I was perhaps I'd just hit. I talk about rock bottom. I was just desperate, so I said, "Bully, come have a coffee." And we got talking about the stuff, and he really just got me to reconnect with what I did and the good stuff I did for the team and I'd done over the past, and broad role rather than just being this bowler as well. How bad team I was, like in the dressing room, in the field. And for me, I hadn't realized at the time, writing, funny enough, it is something that always helps clean my mind. So writing things down is again cathartic, and looking at it. So I started a sort of what call a performance diary, write down how I was feeling, how I wanted to feel, what I would do about it. So what the plan was, and I do that almost daily. And there was a change almost overnight, which was great. Didn't mean it was the last time I would struggle, and the second time when I really struggled, I started a book with, which was the end of the last Ashes when I was managing director with England, and I can only describe that I was burnt out. I was in that state of complete burnout. Ended up losing my job, and I think it took me the best part of almost a year to properly come around. Really did. And how did I do that? Well, I think when you go through a circumstance like that, particularly through COVID, and you lose an Ashes and you're at the top of that tree, there's quite a bit of shame associated with that as well. You sort of take everything on your shoulders. And my mum died 3 weeks after I lost my job with England as well. So it was all of that compounded. But in the end, it's reconnecting with you, with the good stuff, with your family, with health, with fitness, exercise, and as much as anything, just being present. So often in life, we're not present. People are talking to us. Are we really listening? Are we really in a meeting, in a room? Am I really here, talking to you? Well, yes, I am. And that really being present is so important, and taking in your surroundings. And say over time, I started to do that stuff and came around. Then you start what I call looking up again and going, the world's not a bad place. Got to move on.
Well, I'm sure it's inspiring for the listeners because, everyone has those feelings when, you don't really see a ray of light on the horizon, but sometimes you've got to battle to see it. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that with us.
No problem.
Now, I just want to change tact because it is a cricket podcast. And the King of Spain and I. Now, the title for Aussies might be a bit of a mystery. I know the backstory. Isn't it that some merchandise was ordered by Warwickshire County Cricket Club, was it? And it was supposed to be the King of Spin, and it came back to King of Spain. And like the English boy, you can flog a joke.
Yeah, so you're right. So I'd had some early success about 2001 with England. And the club shop at Edgbaston sent off some samples. And they were supposed to come back the King of Spin. Either they didn't know much about cricket or knew more about cricket than we expected, and I came back the King of Spain. And we thought it was very funny, but there was only 2 mugs. One I kept in the dressing room, and one was kept in the club shop. My one disappeared sometime after, whether it was dropped or broken, don't know. But that story really didn't start to build then until 2004, when I had more success, and then into 2005. Then there were Spanish flags in the ground and the songs, and that's when it really
T-shirts.
started.
I remember the T-shirts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's been a bit of everything, and it's still now the one thing. Whatever, and I've been in management for 18 years, longer than I played. If I walk past someone and I know they've clocked me, I keep walking, and it takes about 5 yards, and they turn around and shout, "King of Spain!" And that happens more than ever. And that Andrew goes back to that brilliant series. That series that was on terrestrial TV was one of the greatest series of all time against one of the greatest Australian teams of all time. Every hour was like a whole test match, almost in the action and how tense it was. And people still keep connecting with that. Could imagine this year, 20 years on, we've done a lot of stuff around the Ashes of 2005, and you can still hear a pin drop when us guys get together and talk about it, and that's great because it's we love it. People always say to me, "Don't you get bored of talking about it?" No, it's the one thing, and it's not because we won. It was just a magical thing to be involved in.
Well, You don't. Well, let's talk about it. So tell me, what did the Ashes mean to you as a player? Now, I don't know, when did you first play Ashes cricket? Was it 01 or 02, 03?
Yeah, my first test, I played one test in England in 2001. Then I was injured. I had an Achilles operation that year. Didn't play again until 2-3 and played one test again. And started all right in Brisbane. I got 6 wickets in the match. We lost, but I got 6 wickets. And then Steve Harmison broke my arm in the nets. And I was on my way home. And then obviously 2005, and I played 2 tests in Australia in 2006-07. I mean, that, to be fair, my run in Australia has not been great, Andrew. So you can probably understand why I'm not rushing back this year to the Ashes. But yeah, it's one of the toughest places on earth to go and win, as is demonstrated by the stats. You know, we've won there once in 40 odd years.
You're very
And
unlucky because nowadays they don't bowl that hard in the nets. In the book, you describe Harmison steaming in, really bowling
yeah,
full tilt. They wouldn't do that to you now.
no, well, I mean, it was the ongoing joke on that tour because Harmy bowled speed of light. And it was whoever got Harmy was, we'd just have a giggle. And it was that morning, I looked at the board that the coaches always put out, and I saw me against Harmy, and Nasser and Alex Stewart are next to me, and I turned to them. I said, "I'll be going home tomorrow."
Oh, no.
Not thinking I'd be that accurate, but yeah. And he hit me first ball on the wrist, between my arm guard and the glove, right on the wrist, and it went straight down. At which point you think, "Shit, I'm in a bit of trouble here." But I batted for another 10 minutes with a broken arm. And that
Jesus.
just shows what the body's incredible. It's not my bravery, just the adrenaline that goes through your body gets you through. But within 2 minutes of coming out, I couldn't move my arm, just couldn't even rotate it. So yeah, it was. I think Harmy was. I was obviously disappointed, but I think Harmy was more upset than me. But when you train at that intensity, those things happen.
Yeah, it'd just be a wanger now. Army wouldn't be bowling. It'd just be someone. You'd be
Yeah,
fine.
that's right. Yeah, they'd have a wanger. We didn't have many wangers then.
And look, you're lucky you went home in a way because it was a pretty tough summer for your teammates. But coming into the '05 series, it was very different. Vaughan's team, you were on a roll. You'd been winning test matches, and it was the first time in a long time Australia felt, okay, we might have a chance here. Um, did you feel that internally? Did the team really feel that?
Yeah, I think we did. And you're right. It wasn't. I think one of the things we're quick to say, it wasn't an overnight success. It took time to get to that point, and probably from about 2000 when Fletch first took over and Nasser became captain, we started building towards '05. Then
NASA
Vorney
was
took
a
over.
tough prick, which is good. Like, I think you need that sometimes.
Yeah, and I always say, Nasser's reign as captain, in many ways, of course, Vorney got us over the line, but was as important at the right time, at that time, as Vorney's, because the team needed a bit more stick than carrot. But then absolutely right when Michael Vaughan took over and the team needed to be released. And that's when people like, Freddie started to really flourish, who probably wouldn't have done so much in NASA's sort of environment. So it was just right. But yeah, we got to 2005 and it was 5 years in the making. The context, not have won the Ashes for 18 years. We're playing against what were like the Galacticos of cricket in that Australian team. They're like giants. And things being different then, Menners, as well, around, nowadays with franchise cricket, they spend a lot of time together, they know each other much better. We knew some of the guys who played in county cricket, but otherwise there's more mystery between the two teams. It was a bit more of a face-off. But, and I think that's why it was such a tense series, because there was so much on the line for Australia, but it had taken us so long to get to that point. And at so many moments, it could have just been all over, particularly from our perspective. So, yeah, an incredible journey and certainly not an overnight success.
No, and I mean, you talk about the teams not knowing each other. I mean, that's not long after, there were captains telling teams not to talk to each other, and Border famously did that a few times. But you talk about how the the series was on a knife edge. Well, you were right in the middle. So obviously, Nottingham, fourth test, chase. I think you're chasing around 120 odd.
Yeah.
And Warney and Australia is coming hard. Brett Lee was bowling quick. Warney, was on fire, and you got England over the line. So, I mean, you were not out 7, probably the best not out 7 you've ever made.
Yeah.
Hoggard not out 8. I'm telling you, was it Billy Bowden who wouldn't put the finger up? Was it Bowden? There was one umpire that just wouldn't put the finger up. Warney, these days, DRS, you and Warney both might have another 100 test wickets with DRS because you would bowl straight.
Yeah.
You would have hit a lot of players on the pad around that Midland leg, and umpires just
Mm.
go, nah, not out.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would have got a few more, but I might have lost a few more elsewhere. I don't know. There's swings and roundabouts.
But
so,
what's like that? You fourth test, you're out in the middle, matches on the line. Do you remember much of that pressure?
Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, we again, we talk about it a lot. When you're chasing a total like that, I guess you think, well, we'll just get it done. Trez will bang 70, and we'll be it'll be tea and medals before you know it. But when you play for England, you probably realise it's never like that either. So at the end, lots made of my 7 not out. And of course, it's really important. And ultimately, hitting the winning runs in an Ashes series, it's a really proud thing to do. But thing that stays with me is that those end moments when I'm with Hoggy and we're chipping away at the score, is it's only when you hit those winning runs, it's almost like someone turns the volume up. Because before then, it felt like me and Hoggy, Brett Lee and Shane Warne, and the umpires probably in this little battle, just so focused. And then when I clip those winning runs through mid-wicket, it is literally like someone going like that with the volume, and the whole thing floods in. And it's the most incredible feeling. And with teammates jumping up and down the balcony, going 2-1 up in an Ashes series on the gates of, at the gates of dreamland, as I think I call it in my book. And as we're walking off, I remember to turn into Hoggy, because I think we were, probably 2 of the lower key players in that team. And I turned to him and I said, mate, just for one night, we're kings. And, just enjoy it. And we certainly had a good night that night. It was good fun.
And then, we move forward to the Oval for the next test match. And, Australia's still coming hard right to the last day. I mean, the series went down to the end, and, England in all sorts, and KP's out there battering them. And then you come out and you make a brilliant 59 and take the game away from Australia. That must be such a fond, proud memory, that innings, and sticking with KP and seeing what he did.
Yeah, so comparing the two, obviously getting over the line at Trent Bridge is important, but I always say the far more important innings was at the Oval, because when I went in, and when I normally batted 8, I batted 9 because Paul Collingwood had replaced Simon Jones, so I'd nudged down. So we were 200 odd ahead, 55 overs left in the match. If we'd gone bang, 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 there'd been plenty of time for Australia to get the runs. So it was incredibly tense. So actually, where KP had gone, everyone would remember that Kev had gone mad between just before lunch and just after lunch. But when I went out, he actually just reined it back in and played pretty normally. And we just tried to get through overs, 6 at a time, 6 balls at a time, then 12, then 18, then 24, and bring it back down. In between times, he'd play some of the most extraordinary shots, obviously, and I always say I had the best seat in the house for one of the greatest Ashes innings of all time. And then we just chipped away and we batted a long time. Kev got his 100, then got out. It's weird, even when he got out, you're so in it that you don't think you've done it. You're just so, even
Focused.
when Australia need 20 and over, you're just like, we just need to keep the foot on the throat, because that's a great Australian team. And then realistically, of course, we'd won it. And when I got out for 59, bowled around my legs by Warney, I remember being really disappointed. I started walking off with my head down and then looked up again, a bit like Trent Bridge, and you're like, Jesus, I should probably slow down a bit here, enjoy this. I don't think I'll get this again. And there's people on on roofs, people hanging out of windows outside the ground. The ground's absolutely packed. Everyone's standing up, and they're moments and memories that stay with you for life. But the best memory of that day, well, of the cricket bit, was going back out as a team, and we only went out for 4 balls, but we all put our England caps on, and we were just all smiling, grinning like kids, and that was no disrespect to the Australians. We're absolutely respectful, but almost, the end of that journey. And for me, almost, it feels a bit like a life's work, because oldest man in that team. I didn't play much more after that. That was my 50th Test match, actually. That match at the Oval, and the Oval, given I grew up in Surrey, was where I always imagined playing for England. So yeah, all of that together made it a pretty special day.
I know you guys celebrated hard for days afterwards, but you talk about the 20-year anniversary. It actually must be, because as you get older, you do get more reflective and you get more appreciative. And I just imagine when you were together with your old team from '05, it must be something special.
Yeah, I don't think we've had all 12 of us together since. A couple of times this year, we've probably had 7 or 8 and different people. And it is great. I think, as
KP not invited?
KP was there. KP was there for the second one. He was there. I think with anything, there is always water that passes under the bridge. And some people have had their moments. But there'll always be a special bond with that group of people for all of us, players and management, who went through that year. I hear it's like the England rugby team of 2003. They talk about that World Cup journey the same way, and it's not war, absolutely not. Won't have that. There's no life or death, but it's that sort of camaraderie I think you have. So it's still very special. We generally give each other a hug rather than shake hands. You know what I mean? It's that sort of bond I think we have between that group.
That's beautiful. And you're right, it's not war, but it is very intense. So I can imagine there's quite a strong bond. We're running out of time, Ashley. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I would implore the listeners to go and read your book, because we only touched on a few little morsels in our short chat. There's so much more in the book. So listeners, The King of Spain and I at fairfieldbooks.co.uk. Just a couple of quick questions before you go. Who was the best batter you bowled at in your career?
Yeah, the best I always say was Brian Lara. I was lucky to play with him as well, but to play some of the innings he played, break the world record twice in Test cricket, still hold the first-class record, to play innings against Australia where he won Test matches, it seemed almost single-handedly. Just incredible. And again, I feel very lucky. It was painful at times, but I played against all of the best players of probably a couple of generations. I won't start naming them because I'll miss a couple, but through that 90s, 2000s period, some really great players. But Brian was the one who stuck out. But if you're going to ask me, bowler, or I would always say cricketer, Shane Warne was the best cricketer I played against. Just obviously the way he bowled and his record and the way he affected games, but just the theatre he brought to the game as well, that only he could. I couldn't imagine me trying to act like that, but just an absolute maestro, and still remains a huge loss to the game.
Absolutely. And finally, you CEO of Worcestershire County Cricket Club. Many Aussies been over there? You got any in the works?
No, we haven't had some for a while, and certainly not in my. No, we have actually. Yeah, Ben Dwarshus was with us for T20.
Great.
Yes, and Benny's coming back. Oh no, I shouldn't say that, but he might be coming back.
Exclusive. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
But more famously, I guess Glenn McGrath played here for I think a couple of seasons, quite some time ago. Phil Hughes was here.
I remember.
Phil Hughes, very sad. But who else in my time? No, I don't think there's any others in my time. The Kiwis have been very popular with us, as they are with, I think, everyone. But we'd always welcome the Aussies because they're, combative cricketers, and that's, we want guys who play the game the right way, on and off the
Fantastic.
field.
Well, I'm a Sixers fan, so Dwarshuis is a legend. Ashley, thank you so much. Good luck with the book. I
Thank
hope
you.
everyone goes and has a read of it. Good luck with your winter. Enjoy the Ashes. Hope it's not too painful for you. And it
Thank
was
you.
lovely to meet you, and I really appreciate your time, and have a great day.